99% of people going through these interviews are going to fail. Here's my simple framework for approaching this preparation question. MIT acceptance rate is 4%. Stanford is just under 4%. Harvard's 3.4%. But Google and other tech companies have a 0.3% acceptance rate. More than 10 times harder to get into these companies than the top universities. So how do people actually land these big tech company jobs? In this video, I will reveal the complete internal hiring playbooks used at every top tech company so that you can understand exactly why and how these hiring decisions get made. My name is Alex. I was a group product manager at Google for 4 years. I conducted hundreds of interviews and I've made hiring decisions. Let's start with the process. After your recruiter screen, you'll typically go through 1 or 2 initial interviews. If you pass those, you'll then face another 5 or 6 rounds of interviews. Every interviewer scores you on a very specific scale. It starts out from strong, do not hire, leaning, do not hire, leaning higher, now you're going the other way, higher, and strong hire. But here's the catch. To move forward, you need a higher or strong hire across the board. If you're getting leaning higher across your interview, that's still going to be a rejection. Why is it so strict? Big tech companies optimize for reducing what's called a false positive. When the company says, yes, this person can do the job, but in reality, that person actually underperforms and cannot deliver results. This means that big tech companies would rather reject a perfect candidate if it means that they can avoid hiring someone who's not actually ready. Let's think about this. You go through 5 interviews, everyone likes you, they all mark you leaning higher. You're good to go, right? Wrong. Most of the time, this means rejection, even though you got all positive signals. If you don't secure strong supporters in the interviews, you're out. You need to aim for strong hire every single time. Now, let's get into the types of interviews you are going to encounter. These are primarily for product managers, but a lot of these rubrics apply across all roles in big tech. You're going to be tested on product sense. This has 6 core elements that are being assessed. First one is structured thinking. This is a fundamental part of the big tech interview, showing your thinking process. The second one is scoping the problem space, understanding where you're working, making choices and selections, which areas to go and explore, and ultimately scoping down the problem. The third one is smart and appropriate user segmentation. Those are the decisions that you make when you're figuring out who do you serve, who do you build for, who do you prioritize, which segment to go after. The fourth element is prioritization. That's making decisions. The fifth one is user empathy, thinking about your customers, thinking about your users. And the final one is solutioning. This is creativity, relevance. This is, can you build an actual solution that will address the problem solved for the segment that you selected? So these 6 criteria are an example of exactly the rubric that a top tech interviewer will use to evaluate your performance. They will submit an answer to the recruiter or to the hiring committee that says, I will rank this person as follows: leaning higher or do not hire or strong hire, depending on how they did in these 6 areas. And also, if time permits, there's other areas such as metrics, go-to-market strategies, user experience flows, etc. Example question that you might face in a product sense interview is design a parking solution for Google Maps, or build a volunteering product for Meta, or create a product for job seekers. In all of those questions, you're going to be assessed exactly on that rubric. So the only way to get a strong hire is to demonstrate a signal for each of those 6 categories within the product design, and then to do that for each interview. I'm going to do a separate interview where I talk about what exactly a strong hire answer looks like for each of these interviews. Right now, I'll just tell you that I conducted over 200 interviews and I only gave 5 strong hires for all of them. So it is a very rare situation that you can actually check all of these boxes, but we're going to prepare you for that in a separate full-length video. For now, I just want to give you an overview of everything that you're going to see in this hiring process. The second type of interview that you're going to face is the analytical or execution type of question. These are about decision-making, trade-off, metrics, and a typical question might be, should Netflix invest in podcasts? Should we build a podcast business? So here you're going to be expected to set clear goals for the business and the product, identify North Star metrics quite often, balance the user value and the business value, evaluate the trade-offs, counter metrics, and explain your thinking and decision-making step by step. You might also have to do a root cause analysis, which is again segmentation and thinking through potential course of action and explaining your position. The same concept applies here. To get the strong hire, you're going to need to execute on every one of these rubric elements. The third type of interview is the behavioral interview. This is about how you work with others, how you work with cross-functional teams, how you behave, how you think, and ultimately how you approach cross-functional development. What matters the most here is brevity, relevance, alignment with company values. You're going to be asked about leading and aligning stakeholders, handling conflict, driving launches, about your failures, about your successes, managing either of those, overcoming roadblocks, unblocking your team. You might also face hypothetical questions, which are also a subset of the behavioral interview, which is a variation of it where you're asked, how would you behave in this situation? Not tell me about a time that you've done this, but how would you do this? And the approach is very similar to how you think about it. An additional part of this rubric is mapping to the company values. Is often for each one of these top tech companies, they have their own values, how they think about the world, how they think about development, how they think about servicing the user, how they think about growing the business. For instance, you might be familiar with Amazon leadership principles, and they map your answers to these principles to determine whether you're going to be a good fit at the company. So you need to match that. That is how you're going to be assessed. And ultimately, that is how you're going to get a strong hire for that particular interview. The fourth interview type is the strategy question. This especially applies for senior roles, but it could be asked at any level. You're going to be tested on how you think about markets, competition, long-term bets. You can expect to have to size different opportunities, assess market dynamics, think about competitors, think about collaborators, industry trends, think about where the company should play, how it could win, what it should invest in, articulate a long-term roadmap at the company or product level. So it's everything around strategy. And here, your business sense is going to be tested, together with your understanding of the company itself. Those are the main four interview types. So how do you know if you have what it takes and you're actually ready to pass this interview, considering that 99% of people going through these interviews are going to fail? Here's my simple framework for approaching this preparation question. The first question is content. Do you have enough depth to answer this question in writing with unlimited time? Not ChatGPT, you. Take any question and then just test yourself. Write out an answer. How comprehensive is your response, and how well do you map along this rubric that we just discussed? In writing, with no physical delivery, you don't have to actually speak it, you don't have to time box yourself, you just see if you can generate a response. The second layer is, can you deliver it? Can you communicate it clearly, succinctly, again, with no time box? And then the third part of the assessment is, can you now fit this answer within a structured time frame of 30 to 35 minutes? Think about this as a three-step process. Don't worry right away about testing your live delivery within a time box, because you're probably going to fail along multiple vectors. Start by asking, do I have enough of content even to write about this, to explore this if I had unlimited time and no pressure to actually perform it live? And to see how you're progressing along this preparation, you're going to need a calibrated interviewer. This should be someone who's done actual hiring at these companies and can tell you where your gaps are in your content, delivery, and time management. The important thing there is that this interviewer is calibrated. Don't ask your friends or people that have not been in this environment to give you an assessment, because they may actually lead you astray. Having said that, let's now dig into the mistakes that I see over and over and over again. Mistake number one is the memorization. I've memorized all the frameworks, I'm good to go. Well, frameworks alone are not going to get you hired. You're going to need to practice your content, your delivery, and your timing. It's just one part to understand the frameworks. It's another part to actually put them to use in the right place, the right time, the right structure. It has to be internalized. Your frameworks have to be internalized so that you can actually leverage them in the right moment. Second problem I see often is, I've got strong product intuition, I've got this. Well, that's good, but you're going to be judged more on your problem definition than clever solutions here. So your product intuition may lead you astray, and you also have to demonstrate your actual thinking. I've been building products for 10 years, I'll be fine. Well, experience definitely helps, but interview performance is a separate skill set, and I want you to think about it as such. Another common one is, I had offers back in 2020, 2021, I'm sure I can do it again. Well, that period was a hiring boom, especially for product managers. Today's competition is far, far tougher, and the bar is therefore higher. Or another common mistake I see, this role matches my background perfectly. My background is identical to what the hiring manager needs. They're definitely going to take me. With these big tech companies, it doesn't matter if you're the perfect fit. If you can't pass the interviews, you can't reach that bar, you're out. And as we just discussed, even if you are positive signals across the board but don't have strong support, you're still out. Don't worry about the fact that you're a perfect fit. Set that aside for now. Just focus on getting through the interview. In the meantime, if you want structured help and calibration from PCA, use the link in the description to schedule a call with our team. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.